10 innocent men went to prison. One man hanged himself in his cell. Another was executed. And the real killer? He was a trained forensic expert who used everything he learned to hunt women and children for 25 years, while police officers, 700 of them, searched for him. He walked among them freely, murdering, taunting, proving he was smarter. August 5th, 2005. Police finally arrive at his door. Sergey Tkach doesn't run, doesn't fight, doesn't deny. He looks at the officers calmly and says one phrase that sums up 25 years of terror. "I've been waiting for you for 25 years. By then, 37 people were confirmed dead. He claimed responsibility for over 100, and 10 innocent men had already paid the price for his crimes. This is not just the story of a serial killer. This is the story of a system so broken, so corrupt, so desperate to close cases that it tortured innocent men into confessing murders they didn't commit. While the real killer, a man trained in forensic investigation, used that training to evade every trap they set. This is the story of Sergei Fyodorovich Tkach, the Pavlograd Maniac, the Pavlograd Maniac, the forensic expert who became a predator. 37 confirmed murders, 25 years uncaught, 10 to 15 innocent men imprisoned, 1 executed, 0 police officers ever convicted. This is Red Archive, and this is one of the darkest cases in Soviet and Ukrainian history. Before we go deeper, if cases like this matter to you, the system failures, the wrongful convictions, the truth behind the headlines, subscribe to Red Archive with notifications on, and leave a comment telling me, did you know about this case before today? What other cases of wrongful conviction should we cover? Some of our best documentaries have come from your suggestions. Now, let's go back to the beginning, to understand how a weak, sickly boy became one of the most prolific killers in Ukrainian history. September 15th, 1952. A boy is born in Kiselyovsk, Kemerovo Oblast, deep in Siberia, industrial heartland of the Soviet Union. His name is Sergei Fyodorovich Tkach. From the beginning, something is wrong. He's weak, sickly, constantly ill as a child. But he dreams of being strong, dreams of being an athlete, dreams of proving himself. He trains obsessively in track and field, pushing his frail body beyond its limits, trying to become something he's not. And for a while, it seems to work. He shows promise. Coaches notice him. A future in sports seems possible. Then, disaster. A tendon injury ends everything. His athletic career finished before it truly began. He tries to join the military, to prove his worth another way, but they reject him. Heart condition, they say, unfit to serve. The rejection breaks something inside him. He attempts suicide, fails even at that. Think about this moment. A young man who dreamed of strength, now facing the reality that his body has betrayed him, that he will never be the athlete, the soldier, the man he wanted to be. Something shifts in his psychology. If he can't prove his worth through strength, he'll prove it through something else. Through power over the weak, through control over those who can't fight back. He gets a job killing stray dogs for the municipal services. Most people would find this work horrific. Necessary, perhaps, but horrific. Tkach loves it. He takes pleasure in the killing, enjoys the power over helpless animals, enjoys watching them die. This is the first clear sign of what he will become. But Tkach is also intelligent, ambitious in his own twisted way. He applies to become a forensic investigator, to work with the police. For 5 years he trains. He learns how crime scenes are processed, what evidence investigators look for, how criminals are caught, what mistakes they make. He is learning the playbook. Every technique, every procedure, every method. But he's not learning it to catch criminals. He's learning it to become one. His career ends before it truly begins. He's caught falsifying evidence, expelled from the training program, banned from law enforcement. Now he has no career, no future in sports, no future in the military, no future in police work. But he has something else. 5 years of forensic training, complete knowledge of how police investigate murders, and a burning desire to prove he's smarter than all of them. Tkach marries. Her name is Natalia. They have 2 sons, but the marriage is a disaster. He can't hold a job, can't provide for his family, can't be the man society expects. Natalia files for divorce, takes the children. The custody hearing is the final humiliation. It happens at an airport, a public place. She takes the boys right in front of him. He can do nothing. Something breaks completely. The same day as the custody loss, Tkach sees a young woman in Crimea. He follows her, attacks her, strangles her, rapes her corpse. His first murder. And then, something incredible happens. He calls the police. He confesses, tells them what he did, where the body is. The police don't believe him. They think it's a prank call, a mentally disturbed person seeking attention. They hang up. This is the first of many times the system will fail. Sergey Tkach has just confessed to murder, and the police, literally, do nothing. Think about what this teaches him. He just committed murder, called to confess, and got away with it. The system is incompetent. The police are fools. He is smarter than all of them. This belief, this narcissistic certainty of his superiority will drive him for the next 25 years. He moves to Pavlograd, a fresh start, a new city where no one knows him. He remarries, a woman named Lyudmila. She knows nothing of his past, nothing of what he really is. And in this new city, with his forensic training and his absolute contempt for police, he begins to hunt in earnest. October 31st, 1984. Halloween in the West, but in Soviet Ukraine, just another autumn day. Olga Dmitrenko is 10 years old, a bright girl, talented, studying at a music school. She's walking home after class through the streets of Pavlograd. Sergey Tkach is watching. He's perfected his technique by now, knows how to approach without suspicion, knows how to isolate a victim, knows exactly what he will do. Olga never makes it home. Her body is found later, strangled, violated, discarded like garbage. She was 10 years old. February 23rd, 1985. Less than 4 months later, Olya Shuvalova is 8 years old, a second grader, still learning to read and write. She disappears near her apartment building. Her body is found in the basement. The same signature, strangulation, sexual assault. She was 8 years old. Pavlograd is in terror. 2 children, murdered within months. The same method, the same brutality. Parents are afraid to let their children outside. The community is paralyzed with fear. And the police have nothing. No leads, no suspects, no idea who is hunting their children. By now, Tkach has established his pattern. He targets women and girls, often young, often alone. He strangles them, slowly. He's told investigators he prefers strangulation because it takes longer. He can watch them die, feel their life leaving. He sexually assaults them during or after death. Necrophilia is part of his signature. He takes trophies, shoes, underwear, jewelry, dolls, items he keeps hidden at home, and he uses every piece of forensic knowledge he has. He wears condoms to avoid leaving DNA. He removes all trace evidence from the scene. He walks along railway tracks treated with creosote, because the smell confuses tracking dogs. He is not a disorganized killer acting on impulse. He is a methodical predator using professional training to hunt. The murders continue. 3, 4, 5 victims, then more. The case escalates to the highest levels of Soviet power. Mikhail Gorbachev himself demands results. The Central Committee of the Communist Party is involved. This is no longer a local matter. This is a national emergency. 700 detectives are deployed to Pavlograd. 700. The largest manhunt in Ukrainian history. They conduct thousands of interviews, check tens of thousands of alibis, examine every suspicious person in the region, and they catch no one. The Soviet government is so desperate, they consult Vanga, the famous Bulgarian psychic. Vanga supposedly provides information about the killer, details that might help investigators. It leads nowhere. 700 detectives, the resources of the Soviet state, a psychic consulted by the government, and Sergey Tkach continues hunting, killing every few months, walking past the very detectives searching for him, because he knows exactly what they're looking for, and he knows exactly how to avoid it. But avoiding them isn't enough for Tkach. He wants to humiliate them, prove his superiority, mock them to their faces. The police set up an ambush in the woods, a location where they believe the killer hunts. They position officers, wait for him to appear. Tkach sees them. He watches from a distance, studies their positions, and waits. Lunchtime comes. The officers take a break, leave their posts for a few minutes, and in those few minutes, at the exact spot where they were stationed, Tkach commits another murder. He kills at their empty post, deliberately, to show them they can't catch him even when they're right there. This is not just a killer. This is a narcissist proving a point. The police are under enormous pressure. Gorbachev wants results. The Central Committee wants results. The people want results. They need an arrest. Enter Igor Rizhikov, an electrician, a working man with no criminal history. He becomes a suspect, not because evidence points to him, but because police need someone to blame. They arrest him, interrogate him, but he maintains his innocence. So they torture him, beat him, deprive him of sleep, threaten his family. Soviet interrogation methods are brutal, designed to break anyone. Eventually, Igor Rizhikov confesses to murders he didn't commit. He's convicted, sentenced to 10 years in prison, while the real killer continues hunting just kilometers away. Igor Rizhikov spends 10 years in prison. 10 years for crimes committed by Sergey Tkach. His life is destroyed, his reputation ruined, his family shattered. And during those 10 years, Tkach murders at least 20 more people. The system didn't just fail to catch the real killer, it actively punished an innocent man while the guilty one walked free. We're deep into this story now, and it only gets darker. Before we continue, leave a comment telling me what disturbs you most about this case so far. The forensic training used for evil, the torture of innocence, the 700 detectives who failed. Your engagement shapes how I tell these stories. Now, let's talk about the most tragic victim of this broken system, a father who lost everything. 1989. Vladimir Svetlichny's daughter is murdered. She becomes one of Tkach's victims, strangled, violated, discarded. A father's worst nightmare. But for Vladimir, the nightmare is just beginning. Police don't know who killed her. They have no leads, no evidence, no suspects. So they create one. They arrest Vladimir himself. Think about this. A man whose daughter has just been murdered is arrested for her murder. They interrogate him, tell him they have proof, tell him witnesses saw him, tell him he's guilty. He denies it. Of course he denies it. He didn't do it. So they torture him. They beat him, break him psychologically, tell him they'll arrest his wife next, tell him his whole family will suffer. And then, the cruelest twist. They don't just accuse him of his daughter's murder, they accuse him of 22 murders. Tell him he's the Pavlograd Maniac. Tell him he's a serial killer who murdered children. His wife, Lyubov, is brought in. Under psychological pressure so intense she can barely think, she writes a confession. For him. Vladimir Svetlichny, a grieving father, accused of murdering his own daughter and 21 other people, tortured, broken. His wife forced to confess on his behalf. He can't take it anymore. In his cell in the SIZO, the Investigative Detention Center, he hangs himself. An innocent man killed by the system, while the real killer continued hunting. Vladimir's death is just the beginning of his family's suffering. His wife, Lyubov, is labeled the wife of a serial killer. The community turns against her. Her house is burned down. She can't find work for 10 years. Their surviving daughter is told she carries the genes of a serial killer. She's pressured into abortions. Multiple marriages fail because of her father's reputation. An entire family destroyed for crimes committed by Sergey Tkach. And Tkach? He's still hunting, still killing, still walking free. How did Tkach evade 700 detectives for so long? The answer lies in his training. For 5 years, he studied forensic investigation. He learned exactly what police look for at crime scenes, what evidence they collect, how they trace suspects, and he used every piece of that knowledge against them. He wore condoms during assaults to avoid leaving DNA evidence. He removed all trace evidence from scenes, hair, fibers, anything that could identify him. He walked along railway tracks treated with creosote. The strong chemical smell confused tracking dogs. They couldn't follow his scent. He chose victims carefully, often from vulnerable populations, girls and women who might not be immediately missed, whose disappearances might not trigger major investigations. He varied his locations, never hunting in the same area twice in a row, creating confusion about whether murders were even connected. This wasn't a lucky killer who happened to avoid capture. This was a trained professional using his education to hunt human beings. The torture of Igor Ryzhikov and Vladimir Svitlichny wasn't exceptional. It was the system. Soviet and Ukrainian police operated on a simple principle: close the case by any means necessary. If they didn't have a suspect, they created one. If the suspect wouldn't confess, they tortured him until he did. If the evidence didn't fit, they manufactured evidence. They planted evidence, literally smeared blood on suspects' shoes, then claimed it was proof of guilt. They ignored contradictions. One victim had grey hair on her body. The suspect had no grey hair. They prosecuted anyway. They targeted the vulnerable, people without resources to fight back, without lawyers, without connections, without hope. The goal was never justice. The goal was closing cases, making statistics look good, making superiors happy. And if innocent men rotted in prison, that was acceptable. The most horrifying cases involved children accused of Tkach's crimes. Yakov Popovich was 14 years old, a schoolboy. Police pulled him from school, accused him of murder, tortured him. A 14-year-old boy, beaten by adult interrogators until he confessed to a crime he didn't commit. He spent 8 years in prison. 8 years. From age 14 to 22. The most formative years of his life gone for a murder committed by Sergey Tkach. There was another child, a 13-year-old boy, the uncle of a murder victim. Interrogators beat him. One investigator later admitted they kicked him around like a football. A 13-year-old child kicked around like a football until he confessed to murder. He was sentenced to 15 years, served 8 before Tkach's arrest freed him. In 2004, a man with a physical disability was arrested. He was accused of strangulation murder. There was one problem. He couldn't raise his arms above his shoulders. He was physically incapable of strangling anyone. Did this stop the prosecution? He spent 2 months in detention, fighting to prove what should have been obvious, that a man who can't raise his arms can't strangle someone. Let's count the innocent. Igor Ryzhikov, 10 years in prison. Vladimir Svitlichny, dead by suicide in custody. Yakov Popovich, 8 years in prison, arrested at 14. The 13-year-old uncle, 8 years in prison. The disabled man, 2 months detention. Vitaly, aged 24, tortured into confession. At least 10 to 15 men total, imprisoned for crimes committed by Sergey Tkach, and one man executed. Before DNA evidence could prove his innocence, how many police officers were convicted for this? For the torture, the false evidence, the destroyed lives? 0. Not a single officer faced criminal charges. Some were fired, administrative punishment only. The system protected itself, while innocent men paid the price. 2,000. Tkach's wife, Lyudmila, gets a promotion. The family moves 140 kilometers south to Polodzi. A fresh start, a new city, a new police force that knows nothing about the Pavlograd pattern. Tkach becomes the Polodzi Maniac, a new identity, same predator. In Polodzi, Tkach is more careful. He's older now, in his 50s. The massive manhunt in Pavlograd taught him caution. He kills less frequently, maybe twice a year instead of more often, but he doesn't stop. 13-year-old Olena Prishchenko becomes a victim, strangled with her own backpack straps. Another child, another family destroyed, and another innocent man, Vitaly, aged 24, tortured into confessing to her murder. July 3rd, 2005. 18-year-old Olya Topalova is attacked. Tkach strangles her,
rapes her, leaves her for dead, but she survives. She remembers his face, describes him to police. A sketch is made. Tkach appears in a lineup, but Olya, traumatized, uncertain, doesn't identify him. He's released. And now he has a problem. A living witness who saw his face, who might remember more, who might identify him later. He begins planning to find her, to eliminate the only survivor who could destroy him. August 2005. Just weeks after the survivor almost identified him, 9-year-old Katya Karuja disappears. Her body is found at a beach. The same signature. Strangulation, sexual assault. She was 9 years old. Tkach attends her funeral. He stands among the mourners, watching the family grieve, feeling powerful, untouchable. But someone else is watching too. A fisherman. He remembers seeing a man at the beach before the murder. The same man now standing at the funeral, acting strangely, watching too intently. He reports it to police. After 25 years, 700 detectives couldn't catch him. The resources of the Soviet state couldn't catch him. But a fisherman who noticed something wrong finally brings him down. August 5th, 2005. Police arrive at Sergey Tkach's home. 25 years of hunting, 37 confirmed victims, countless lives destroyed. And it ends here. Tkach doesn't run, doesn't fight, doesn't even seem surprised. He looks at the officers calmly and speaks. "I've been waiting for you for 25 years." Think about those words. He's not scared. He's not panicked. He's almost relieved. For 25 years he played a game with police, and he won every round. Now the game is over, and he wants them to know he was in control the entire time. Police search his home. What they find horrifies them. Shoes, handbags, underwear, dolls, toys, makeup, jewelry, trophies from 37 victims. Each item connected to a death, each object a souvenir of suffering. Hidden in his home, where his wife lived, where his family existed, he kept them for years, looked at them, remembered. The investigation lasts 3 years, 2005 to 2008. 105 volumes of documentation, tens of thousands of pages. Every murder catalogued, analyzed, confirmed. Tkach confesses to everything, more than everything. He claims responsibility for 80 to 100 murders. Only 37 can be proven. The rest? Victims whose bodies were never found, or deaths attributed to other causes, or murders in other regions never connected to him. Why did he do it? In interrogations, Tkach reveals his psychology. He wanted to prove he was smarter than his former colleagues, the police who expelled him, the system that rejected him. He wanted to humiliate them. 700 detectives, and they couldn't catch him. He killed in front of their ambush, to mock them. He wanted fame. He compared himself to Chikatilo, wanted to be known as an equal, or greater. At his core, Tkach was a narcissist. Everything was about proving his superiority.
His victims weren't people to him. They were props in his performance, evidence of his genius. 2008. Sergey Tkach stands trial. The evidence is overwhelming. His own confessions, the trophies found in his home, DNA matching multiple victims, witness testimony. The verdict is inevitable. Guilty. The sentence: life imprisonment without possibility of parole. He's sent to Zhytomyr Prison No. 8, a maximum security facility where he will spend the rest of his life. Even in prison, his narcissism continues. He demands $1 million for interviews. Each interview, $1 million. He wants to sell his autobiography to Hollywood. $3 million minimum. He dreams of a Steven Spielberg film about his life. With Demaris in prison. A woman named Elena, age 27, 33 years younger than him. They have a daughter together named Liza, born while her father serves life for murdering children. November 4th, 2018. Sergey Tkach dies in prison. Heart failure, age 66. He once predicted he would die in a psychiatric hospital. He was wrong. He died in a prison cell. No family claimed his body. He was buried in an unmarked grave somewhere in the Zhytomyr region. 37 confirmed victims. Over 100 claimed. 25 years of terror ended in an unmarked hole in the ground.
What happened to the innocent men imprisoned for his crimes? Igor Rizhikov, released after 10 years, life destroyed. The family of Vladimir Svitlichny still bearing the stigma decades later. Yakov Popovich, released after 8 years, childhood stolen. The 13-year-old uncle, released after 8 years, teenage years gone. Some received compensation, small amounts, nothing close to what they lost. Some rebuilt their lives, others never recovered. All carry psychological scars that will never heal. And the police officers who tortured them, who beat confessions out of innocent men, who planted evidence, who drove a grieving father to suicide. 0 convictions. Some were fired, administrative punishment, nothing more. The system that imprisoned innocents, the system that executed at least one man for Tkach's crimes, that system protected itself. No one paid the price for what was done to those men, except the men themselves. If you watched this entire documentary, thank you. This case isn't just about a serial killer. It's about what happens when a system values closing cases over finding truth. When police torture innocents to make statistics look good.
When the wrong people pay for crimes they didn't commit. Sergey Tkach was a monster, but the system that imprisoned 10 innocent men, that drove a father to suicide, that executed someone for crimes he didn't commit, that system was monstrous too. Subscribe to Red Archive and hit the notification bell. Leave a like if this documentary showed you something you didn't expect. And in the comments, tell me, what cases of wrongful conviction should I cover next? What stories of system failure need to be told? Your suggestions have shaped this entire series. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the real crime isn't the murder, it's what happens after, when innocent people pay the price.